the Green Bay Packers said it's okay to go and talk to Aaron Rodgers, so that makes this whole deal very, very possible now. Under the guise of all the different things that I was telling you last week that would have to happen in order for Aaron Rodgers to really facilitate a trade to the Jets, he's going to have to modify his contract significantly. He had to get assurances from Woody Johnson yesterday that they would spend money in free agency to bolster the team in areas that he feels that probably needs support. I would wonder whether or not Woody Johnson would have agreed to that. That I don't know. That's a conversation between the men that went out there and Aaron and his agent. And I'm sure that Nathaniel Hackett had a lot to do with all of this. And I would think that Nathaniel Hackett in some way, shape, or form was probably involved with him throughout this process, had conversations with him because they're so close. And I think that is going to help the Jets. I think that he is going to be a Jet unless he just has a real, I guess, hold on the fact that he wants to be one of the highest paid players in the league. If that is part and parcel to what he wants, then the Jets can't do what he would need to have done in order to support him to be able to overtake Buffalo, Miami, Kansas City, Cincinnati. Pittsburgh's going to be better. I don't know what's going on in Baltimore, but there are going to be a lot of teams that, are going to be in the way if the team stays the way it is right now. So they have to bring him in. And a lot of people are saying that, they wouldn't have won 7-10 had he been the quarterback last year. No, they wouldn't have. But next year or this coming year is a completely different year. It's a completely different set of circumstances. So hopefully Woody Johnson assured Aaron Rodgers that if Aaron Rodgers lowered his contract number, that he would go out and spend the other money left over and let Joe Douglas do his job.
Now, all the stuff that Aaron Rodgers has said on the Pat McAfee show, the crazy stuff, the darkness retreat, all those things, that's what gets focused on. But there was one thing that he said that got unnoticed, I think, and was written up a little bit, but no one was really talking about it, where he admitted that no matter where he plays this year, he's going to have to rework his contract, and he knows that. So that fear that is out there that maybe, as you mentioned, you bring up, does he want to be one of the highest paid guys and feels like he's not going to play unless that number is as gigantic as it needs to be for a guy like him. I actually believe that he will rework his contract in a way that's going to help whatever team he plays for, which right now feels like the Jets are nothing. There is no other team that is in on Aaron Rodgers right now. You saw all these teams say no to Lamar Jackson yesterday, which was a very weird thing that they were publicly coming out and saying they were not in on Lamar Jackson. That's a conversation for another day. But the Green Bay Packers, I don't think they want him back. We've been talking about that for a very long time now. The Jets want Aaron Rodgers. There's not a single other team right now that is in on Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers right now, if he's not up at 3 a.m., but when he gets up, the decision he's got to make is retirement or the Jets.
Right. So it works unless there's another AFC team out there, and I don't see one at the moment. It works from the Green Bay standpoint. They don't want to send him to San Francisco. They don't want to send him to another team like Carolina or the only other team I could think of would be the Titans, because supposedly he's building a house in Nashville or something like that. I'm not really sure, but Green Bay has some say in this as well. And what they want is they want him in the AFC. They don't want him in the NFC. And it's not about compensation because you're not paying that much in terms of what you're giving to Green Bay for a 39-year-old quarterback, bona fide Hall of Famer for sure, and still probably has 2 to 3 years left if he wants at the back end of his contract, because he didn't play at the beginning of his contract. Now, he's had injuries, he's had problems, but he's always been able to fight through most of those things. And I think this is why the Jets see this as a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit for them also, because I keep saying they'll be able to keep Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson will be the backup quarterback, and he'll be able to watch his idol on the practice field and on the game field, and hopefully that is going to ignite Zach Wilson when it's Zach Wilson's turn 2 or 3 years from now.
I guess really the question for Aaron Rodgers, and it's tough to get inside his head, even though he tells us so much about himself all the time, is there enough positivity for him in Florham Park and with the Jets for him to continue his career there? Now, we know they're on the precipice with a very, very good roster and offensive weapons. We know that one of his best buddies and offensive coordinator is there. We know that they'll find a way to pay him, maybe not as much as he was going to get paid in this original contract. So all of those things are taken care of. It's continuing to play, putting on another uniform, going to the East Coast, and dealing with all of that has made me think that this was never going to happen. So, I mean, when he's weighing his options, you know how people do the pros and cons when they're making a decision? Obviously, you know what the pros are. You know, Garrett Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, the fact that I can keep playing because this seems to be the only team that wants to tolerate me right now.
A reasonably good defense, too,
yeah,
by the way.
Right.
You know, I mean, like a defense that could have been a little bit better last year at the end of the season, but they would have been better had their offense been better. In other words, they were playing on their heels because their offense wasn't scoring a lot of points.
Right.
And they were struggling at the quarterback position. So he would stabilize the franchise and allow the franchise, you know, a couple more years, hopefully, with Zach Wilson developing. You know, because remember, Aaron didn't start until his fourth year either. So this is like the perfect storm for the New York Jets if they can work it out. And I think they will. I think that, you know, Gutekunst, the GM from Green Bay, is done there. They're done dealing with him. And they, you know, maybe Aaron wants a fresh start. Maybe, and remember, he's dating a girl whose dad and family live here.
That's right. So Madison
that's the other
Eads,
right.
The daughter of the owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, has a home in North Salem, which is, you know, a little bit upstate. So yeah, I mean,
take a helicopter from there to. You know, to Florham Park every single day. Be easy.
Yeah, so I
think
read,
that's what Brandon Marshall did. I think he was taking a helicopter from Brooklyn to Florham Park.
Wow.
I think.
I mean, if you've got that ability to do that every single day, it's the best way to do it.
It's the kind of money we're talking about here.
Yeah, no, of course.
Ridiculous.
Well, it's the kind of money that Daniel Jones has now.
Welcome to the big boy pool.
And we actually said that. If you remember, we could go back. Now, I didn't believe this was going to happen. I was basically lying to his face when I said this. But when we were out there at Giants training camp, I said you could take a helicopter to this interview next year if you have a great year. That was the exact, and he laughed, and I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, right. You're going to be on another team as a third-string quarterback somewhere. Well, no, he did. But anyway, I just don't know what Aaron Rodgers wants. I mean, I don't know what he wants at this point. I don't think he knows what he wants at this point in his life. You know, how important is it to him to go to another team and prove that he can play at that high level, maybe win another MVP? Because that's something else he said on the McAfee show.
Tom Brady did it.
But we always knew what Tom Brady wanted.
I mean, I'd be like, first of all, if they're offering me, let's just give a round number. Let's say they're offering him $35 million this year, because that's what I think. That's the number. Around that number is going to be the number that will allow Joe Douglas to be flexible and rework some other contracts and do some other things. I think that's kind of the number. I don't know what that would be over 2 years, and maybe there are incentives in there that if you get to the AFC Championship game and you've played 17 games or some sort of bonus structure like Daniel Jones has incentives that he could reach. If those incentives are reachable, then he can even get paid more money. So that's kind of like what I'm talking about in terms of the contract. So then Joe Douglas has some flexibility to be able to go out and get a few of these other free agents out there. And everybody keeps talking about Breece Hall. Let me remind people about running backs that come off of knee injuries. It takes 16 to 18 months before they are back to normal. Now, he may be ahead of schedule with his rehab, and it may be great, but he's a running back, man.
Well, yeah,
we
we
saw what happened to
Saquon.
Saquon. Yeah, so he's a running back. He's not going to be at the beginning of this coming season the way he was when he was at his highest at the beginning of last season. So that Breece Hall thing, I would suggest second half of the season and maybe even 2024 is when he will attain, assuming he doesn't get hurt again, that special running ability that we saw the first 5 weeks of the season.
All right, so you know how we talked about with the Mike White T-shirts and everything with Zach Wilson, and now Rob Saleh let that get out of control where they were supporting Mike White too much after the benching of Zach Wilson and how that was a problem. Do you think it's a problem that so many Jet players are out there campaigning for Aaron Rodgers on social media right now? Because if it doesn't happen, then all of a sudden either the guys that are there now, meaning Zach Wilson, or somebody else is going to come in feeling like the second or third or fourth choice. Because, Breece Hall, you just mentioned him. He tweeted out yesterday, "Don't mind me, I'm just manifesting Aaron Rodgers." He quote tweeted a picture of Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform yesterday.
Did he have a 12 on?
He did have a 12 on, yes.
Come on, Breece.
He did have a 12 on.
Come on now.
I mean, Sauce, I think, was putting some stuff out there as well yesterday.
Sauce. Yeah, but that's all good. These are young kids, man. This is the way that they get their voice heard. So it doesn't, that kind of stuff, I think I would probably be, if I were Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner, I'd probably be like, you know what? this is exactly the guy that we need because we have a good team. Like there is a level of confidence within that Jet locker room that we haven't seen since Rex Ryan was here.
Sure, but and if they get him, great. And of course, I'd want him too. It's just one of those things that if you don't, then what? I mean, are we going to see these same guys be making positive tweets about Ryan Tannehill if he's the quarterback? Like, probably not.
I don't see that either. But I feel like the whole thing is trending towards Aaron Rodgers coming here.
Yeah,
that I do, and I think that Aaron Rodgers, maybe I'm wrong, I could be wrong, would also not want to wear the number 12.
Yeah,
I mean it is a Hall of Fame number, and it is a retired number.
Yeah, I wonder if that came up in that meeting.
I wonder if he wanted 15 when he got to Green Bay.
Bart Starr, yeah. Right. I don't, probably not.
Hey,
no.
The great Joe Montana, showed deference to Len Dawson when he went to Kansas City.
Hey, man, Joe Namath came on this radio station.
I know that.
Take it.
I know what he said.
Go ahead and take it.
I know what he said. But, hey, it's a new chapter. And listen, if Aaron Rodgers actually takes his team to the Super Bowl, he may go down as the greatest football player in history.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, when it's
the eyes of the franchise's fans.
Well, yeah, I mean, when there's organizations like that who haven't won, like the championship that LeBron got for the Cleveland Cavaliers means 50 times more than anything he did in Miami. And I know he won multiple ones down there, but bringing it to his hometown and a team who hadn't won one just means so much. Now, I know the Jets have won one, but it's been a very, very long time, and their history has been littered with disappointments. By the way, they still haven't landed yet, the Jets. So a very observant Twitter user sent me the flight aware of the jet, the private jet.
Woody Johnson's private jet, yes.
Woody Johnson's private jet, and it lands in White Plains at 6:40 a.m. So
White Plains, that's weird.
Yeah, they're still en route.
I would think, or Morristown.
Yeah, well, that's where they're going. They're going to White Plains for whatever reason. So that's it. And I saw this last night, too, that everybody was tracking this plane on the way out there, and it's the same one. So they haven't landed yet.
Well, I think Jet fans should be excited. I really do. I think that this is a moment in franchise history where if they could pull this thing off, and, Aaron Rodgers comes in here, sound mind, sound body, ready to rock and roll with this young team, this aggressive team, then I think, you got something. You got something special. I know that. And I know the business side of the building will be excited because season tickets will go through the roof. You'll have all the sponsorships that you want. All the skyboxes will be sold. And it will be worth every penny that Woody Johnson invests into Aaron Rodgers and then allowing Joe Douglas the flexibility with the salary cap to go and spend some more money to get some key ingredients that I think Aaron Rodgers would want here to solidify what he believes is probably a pretty decent team.
Yeah, even the people who've called up and guys like Pete Hoffman who have been arguing about this, and I was arguing with him in the newsroom and here the other day about how Derek Carr is a better option than Aaron Rodgers. All the people that were thinking that Aaron Rodgers wasn't a great option for the Jets, if he decides to come to the Jets, even those people are going to be through the roof.
You have to be. He's like
you have to be.
He physically gifted. He's one of the 4 or 5 greatest players to have ever played the game.
Yeah.
Physically gifted. I mean, throwing the football, playing the game the way that he plays it. You want to say stuff about injuries or losing home playoff games. I mean, you can go down that road all you want. I'm just telling you what I see and how he has played over the years and just the different way he looks when he plays. That's the way Dan Marino was. When Dan Marino played, you had to watch. Mm-hmm. When Aaron Rodgers plays, I think you have to watch. It's kind of like now you have to watch Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and Favre was that way too. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is a better player than Favre. Favre was he was still great, though. I mean, that year after the Jets in 2009, we took that team, the Vikings, to the championship game. He only threw 4 interceptions that year. It was unbelievable. He was really good still at the end of his career. But I think that Aaron Rodgers is better. I think that he could be. I think he could play 3 or 4 more years at a very high level as long as he protects himself.
How good was that Viking team?
Oh, I mean, they were pretty damn good. I mean, they had won the division, a couple years before with Tavares Jackson, so they had.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers got hurt that year, right?
Well, the one year that they won the division, yes. Yeah. But then when Favre came in, that was no, he hadn't started yet until 2008. Rodgers.
Okay.
So so the year they won the division, he wasn't even there yet. Favre was just not himself at that point, and they had gone up there and beaten them back in 2004 when they weren't the same team. So they were sort of building at that point, and that team was just. I mean, they were good. I mean, they were.
Who were his wide receivers?
Sidney Rice. Remember Sidney Rice?
That's the point. Like there's better players here, right? You feel now for the Jets?
100%. And they're better players for the Jets than what Favre had in 2008 as well.
When he got here.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that team, like Greg Lewis, remember Greg Lewis, the wide receiver, was a short guy, played for the San Francisco 49ers.
Also played for Kansas City, didn't he?
I might have. He bounced around a little bit. And then Sidney Rice was another one. And obviously Adrian Peterson and Percy Harvin were on that team. And those guys were, they were talented, but they were up and down. But I believe, and the defense, I think, is much better for the Jets than it was back then. So, I mean, it's a better player and a better team that he's getting. So the expectations are that you better be in the championship game at the very least if he comes here.
The only problem is that there are 5 quarterbacks at the top of the AFC, and we don't even count Deshaun Watson in that 5.
Yeah, true.
Think about that for a second. Like Deshaun Watson at one point in time was like one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
One of the most exciting, dynamic players in the league. Takes a year off, still gets paid, of course, and he gets this guaranteed contract from the Cleveland Browns, and we don't even really think of him in that vein anymore.
Yeah, because
that's a quick 2 years.
Right. He missed most of the season and came back and was not impressive in the games that he was back. But
so how about 1 year under his belt? Now everything's, he still has this thing coming up, this lawsuit trial coming up, and I don't know what that's going to do with him and all that other distraction kind of stuff that's going on in his life. But I will say that they're going to be a force as well. Like nobody's thinking Cleveland's going to be any good.
No, they are definitely under the radar, but they're also in a division with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals that have been very, very impressive, and potentially Lamar Jackson still, but we don't know.
How about that? 6 guys get tagged by their teams. Those 6 players received non-exclusive franchise tags, which means every single one of those players on that list, which includes Saquon Barkley and Lamar Jackson and Evan Ingram, can all negotiate with other teams. 2 other running backs, Tony Pollard and Josh Jacobs, are on that list, and Darren Payne, a defensive tackle from the Washington Commanders, is on that list. They can all go negotiate. Their respective team that they're on right now can match, or they'll receive 2 first-round draft picks. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going after any of those players. And what does that tell you about Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I know. And that's something that I want to, we're up against a break, a longer conversation about. I've never seen that in my life. If someone can come up with an example to give me, I've never seen someone like Lamar Jackson, who has won an MVP and is still in his 20s, become available. Yesterday, he became available because you can negotiate with him. And yes, they can match in Baltimore. And yes, there'd be compensation if you got him signed to a deal. But teams were publicly coming out, leaks within organizations, giving it to beat writers saying, we're not interested.
Yeah, because they have to tell their fans, because the fans in those respective cities are going crazy.
Yeah, but I've still never seen that before. It's absolutely insane. So, and I know he wants Deshaun Watson money, and he's not going to get it. And it's almost like these owners, and I'm not saying that they're colluding, but it's almost like every owner in their own independent thought is like, we are not going to let that Deshaun Watson contract happen again.
I think the thought is that he quit on Baltimore. Nobody wants that in their locker room. Yeah. And the other thing, too, is since he doesn't have an agent, like, are you calling him directly? Is he sitting by his phone waiting for phone calls from general managers?
I think his mom is, right? I think it's his mom.
I mean, if I were Lamar Jackson, and I'm just give a little friendly piece of advice to Lamar, go out and hire Daniel Jones's agents.
Yeah.
Because what they got him, is like mind-boggling.
He's got those agents, athletes for have a history too. Dak Prescott, after his injury,
go hire those guys, money. Man.
Yeah, so they've definitely negotiated. Russell Wilson, his big contract after being washed up in Seattle. They've got a history of getting guys who don't deserve money.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.